you had, we both, Pete and I, hope you had a great weekend. Thank you for joining us in the Court of Public Opinion here in the garage from Adelaide. Cold, wintry day, but the days, having gone past the winter solstice, they're getting longer. They are. So we're on our way to spring. Think positively. Although I like winter. Do you like winter, Pete?
I do, yes.
Yeah. I had a house once where I had, I think, three open fires. And I have a house now with one open fire. But it's a big one. And, you know, it's just so atmospheric and wonderful to have an open fire. Mind you, the people who bang on about climate change and whatnot would probably come and take all my wood. Anyway, let's not bang on about that. Before we get into the stuff of the day, and some correspondence from you, thank you very much for your comments. June the 26th. 1284 was the year. According to the manuscript, the Pied Piper leads 130 children from Hamelin, from Hamelin, the Pied Piper of Hamelin. Yeah. He just leads them away. Strange story. Might have some sort of mythical or historical truth to it. I don't know. 1284. Anyway, I just record the date. 1894, Carl Benz of Germany receives a US patent for his gasoline-driven auto. Great. They are wonderful cars, the Mercedes-Benz. Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone is the first book in the J.K. Rowling's best-selling series, published this day in 1997. She is worth billions, and God bless her. Excellent. The toothbrush is invented in China. They use the bristles from pigs, boar bristles. 1498. Who would have had the presence of mind to, on that day, record that piece of history? Amazing. Elvis Presley sings in Indianapolis the last performance of his career and his life. It was 1977. The great Elvis Presley. 1917, first troops arrive in France during World War I. The first 62 recipients are awarded the Victoria Cross for valour in the Crimean War, presented personally by Queen Victoria. The year was 1857, and the metal, it's a dark metal, almost black metal with a red ribbon, and that, to this day, the Victoria Crosses are made from cannon melted down from the Crimean War. To this very day, the same metal. Can you imagine in one battle, well, I can't say one battle, but certainly that war, 62 people got the Victoria Cross. Wow. 1968, raising the flag on Iwo Jima. Iwo Jima was returned to the Japanese by the US on this day in 1968. That, of course, was the island, the site of some of the most vicious, terrible fighting of World War II in the Pacific. And if you've ever seen that picture, and I think there's a statue of it as well, of the Marines huddled around, holding up, forcing up the flag, the American flag, as they won the battle and took the island. It's a great moment in American fighting history. Kevin Rudd defeats Julia Gillard in leadership battle to become Australian Prime Minister. 2013. I lost all track of the Rudd-Gillard-Rudd whole saga. colourful, interesting, but as I say, lost track of it. Hong Kong proclaimed a British colony in 1843. Chris O'Donnell, American actor, Scent of a Woman, School Ties, Batman Forever, NCIS. He was born in Illinois in 1970. Oh, and this one is an interesting one. Don't make me laugh. The ribs still hurt. 1963, US President John F. Kennedy gives his famous Ich bin ein Berliner speech. What he intended to mean, of course, was I am a Berliner. In actual fact, what he said was, I am a donut. Which was duly not terribly widely recorded and reported. But the Berliner is a Berliner. The Berliner, Pete, do you know what a Berliner is?
It's a donut bun with jam in it.
Yeah, that's what it is, but it doesn't have a hole in it. It's called a Berliner. I am. Dear, oh dear. Stop laughing. 2012, Nora Ephron, American novelist, screenwriter. She wrote Silkwood, When Harry Met Sally. I love that. She was the director of Sleepless in Seattle, dies of pneumonia as a complication of leukemia. She was 71 in 2012. And English-American actress Elizabeth Taylor, fifth divorce from Welsh actor Richard Burton after 10 years of marriage in 1974. Well, I think they got married again. They did, yeah. Yeah, people do that. People do that a lot. Oh, I don't know. It's probably a bit of, you know, the devil you know kind of thing. Oh, here's another one. In 1989, American actress Melanie Griffith weds American actor Don Johnson for the second time. They had been married for 6 months in 1976. They divorced again, however, in 1996. But they were married again for the second time, as I say, on this day in 1989. What an incredibly dull life we have, Pete. But, you know, it's all right. Life is what you make it. Now, hang on a sec. I better get this so I don't muck it up, misspell it or something. This is from Jake. Jake says, why do you keep banging on about the islands of the South Pacific and climate change? Well, I'm sorry if it seems that way, Jake, but they are continually saying that we have to pay them hard currency because we're contributing to their demise. The water is rising through climate change. Somehow we in Australia are responsible for their wet feet. Now, I believe it's a con. Sorry, I do. Because according to that ABC story, which was dated Thursday the 7th of January 2021, went to air at 7 p.m, it said, new research finds hundreds of islands in the South Pacific, many of them the big tourist islands, are growing in land size, even as climate change related sea level stories say the opposite. Well, gee whiz. I don't think that story got much prominence or profile on the ABC. Never appeared again. Haven't seen it anywhere else. You can Google it though. Doesn't fit the narrative, you see. It looks like journalists are part of the con. A team of scientists at the University of Auckland found the islands in the Pacific. The nations of the Marshall Islands, Kiribati, as well as the Maldives in the Indian Ocean and dozens of others had grown up to 8% in land size over the last 60 years. All verified by satellite surveillance. Jake, I rest my case. I rest my case. Have you seen one story about the million-dollar homes on the waterfronts of the world? Pricey real estate. Homes built right on the beach. Billions of dollars worth of real estate. Not one story about water lapping at the front door. Come on, Jake. Do you imagine that this isn't a concoction of these people to simply screw some money out of us? That's what I firmly believe. What else can we talk about? Would you buy a house, talking about real estate, would you buy a holiday house on the banks of the River Murray? And we have some wonderful property on offer at the moment. People are deciding whether or not they'll rebuild or they'll just walk away. A lot of people are walking away. But in all honesty, if you live right there on the riverbank, you've got to assume that every 20 or 30 or maybe every 50 years or something, you're going to get a flood. Going to get your feet wet. You take that on board, surely. Boris Johnson has thrown himself on his sword. You would have read that. I think that's the poetic description of what happened. But he did that ahead of what obviously was a move to kick him out. He says he was the subject of a kangaroo court. Now, I don't know. But I like Boris Johnson. I thought he was a kind of different, interesting, rebellious, messy-haired, breath of fresh air, if not fresh hair. In many ways, I guess he knows something about a kangaroo court, because he came to Australia, you know, going back a few years. In his younger days, he taught school in the Highlands of Victoria, Geelong Grammar. That's not widely known, and I don't think he ever talked about it to any great extent. But I'm still not sure what a kangaroo court actually is. Maybe it just jumps around all over the place. I don't know. Radio National, I was talking the other day to you about flicking through the television channels, and one of the things you notice with this more modern approach to what they put on the screen, of the 335 channels you can go to, a lot of them are radio channels as well. And many of them, I think if you count up the radio and television channels that are run by the ABC, it's about 30. 30. You know, you really wouldn't need 30. You'd need a classical music station, a talk station, a general interest sort of station. Oh, but I suppose you could go to a sports station. And I think they're obliged to do news and parliamentary. That's all you need. But why, when you have endless funding, wouldn't you have 33 channels? Why wouldn't you? Just for fun. One of those channels is Radio National, RN. A national breakfast program on the ABC presented by Patricia Carvelis. Now, Patricia is tipped. She was tipped a couple of weeks ago to be the replacement for Stan Grant on Q&A. She's well known as a significant lefty, quite outspoken, quite good. What I'm fascinated by, and indeed I might say encouraged by, is the fact that in one of the major capital cities of Australia, Her radio show, which I wouldn't listen to in a fit, but her radio show scored a rating of less than 1,000 people. 0.4% of the audience. Now that's unbelievable. It could be cheaper to ring them up. You don't need a broadcasting station. I mean, that's a waste of electricity. This little program from the garage here would run rings around Patricia Karvelas, and I would suggest that she's paid in excess of $300,000 a year. What a failure. It's not a failure of anything other than her lefty commentary, of course, because she is a good presenter. It's what she says. Are the ABC really going to promote her? In Sydney, her ratings are I'll do this from memory, 1.5%. In Adelaide, here in Adelaide, 1.6%. And in Perth, it's 0.4%. I would imagine that in our collective attempt to save electricity, we would turn that off. Well, clearly most of us have. It's a waste. And another ABC star, Virginia Trioli, has lost half her Melbourne audience in the past 18 months. If that were to happen in the commercial world, God, you'd be gone in a flash. Anyway, I think the ABC, and Lee Sales said something the other day, she's up for a gold Logie or something. Lee Sales said something along the same lines the other day, that the ABC had to do something about the situation in which it found itself. Well, no, actually, it's of their own making. Ito, what the hell are you doing? I was watching an ad on TV, speaking of television the other day, an ad for apprentices. And I think it went something like, apprentices build industry. Apprentices build industry, it said. No, wrong. Industry builds opportunity, which builds the need for apprentices, which builds the economy. You see, you just got to put the horse before the cart. Would make a lot of sense. Have I got time for one more? Of recent times, there could be nothing more controversial than the Brits. The Brits wanting to get out of the EU, the European Union. The prophecy was that it would be doom and gloom and disaster for the once Great Britain. Well, it seems now that the dust has settled, it was a brilliant decision. Boris Johnson, who was a prime mover in all of that, was absolutely right. City of London stated on the BBC the other night that Brexit had been a huge success. Probably not widely reported. They said that it would be bad for the financial services industry, which, let's face it, is about all the Brits have got left, apart from a pomp and pageantry. Thousands of jobs will be lost, they predicted. The complete opposite has turned out to be the truth. Chris Hayward, policy chairman of the City of London Corporation, revealed, as I say, on the ABC, that there are thousands and thousands of extra new jobs in the city as a result of Brexit. But you know what? They're not going to get an apology from the media or from the left. But those guys were right. I said all along, who would want to be a suburb of Brussels and have to pull your forelock and tip your hat to a whole bunch of people who dictated all sorts of things to you quite erroneously and unfairly and prejudiciously. Anyway, that's a happy ending. I like happy endings. Thank you very much for being with us. I'm Jeremy Cordeaux. Pete and I will be back tomorrow. Believe in yourself. See you soon. Bye.